place you want to be. Center of the curling world, as these 12 nations are vying for supremacy to stand atop the podium next Sunday, hoping to be world champions. To the team pregame, and let's meet the teams, Allison.
So for Team Russia at lead, we have Artur Razubov. At second, we have Timur Gadzikanov. At third, we have Alexei Timovin. At skip, we have Alexei Stukalski. The alternate being Evgeny Klimov, and the coach being Alexander Kozyev. And for Canada, at lead, we have Jeff Walker. At second, we have Brett Gallant. At third, we have Mark Nichols. At skip, we have Brad Gushu, the alternate being Tom Sallows, and the coach is Jules Ochar. Some familiar faces from yesterday. We did a broadcast of the Switzerland-Canada game. Take a look at the standings.
So Canada is lighting the standings. They had a big win yesterday in their opening game against the Swiss. And the Russians are looking for their first win, hoping to pick it up today, but they're going to be in tough against this world-class team. Former Olympic gold medalist Brad Gushu. The other game here, we've got 2 byes this morning, so the other game we'll keep you updated on. Japan versus the Netherlands. Jaap van Dorp's young Dutch team in tough against Japan's Yosuke Morozumi. Now we're in the inside here at the Northlands Coliseum, a very famous building in ice hockey history and curling history. Some fantastic events have been held here over the years. And Allison, what are you looking for from this game today? On paper, you'd say the Russians are overmatched, so what are they going to have to do?
Yeah, they're going to need to pick it up a little bit. Yesterday, they had a very rough game against the USA. Taking a look at the stats, they were only at a team total of 45% on their draws for the game. So they're going to need to be able to find that draw weight a little bit earlier and use it against this Canadian team, because they're going to come out all firing. They throw those guards right in the first end, so they'll show no mercy. And
I was just going to say to that, so the one defensive tactic the Russians might try and play the game a bit more straight up and down, but as you say, Brad Gushu and his teammates, their tendency is going to be to attack from the get-go, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to see quite a few rocks in play in the first end, and well, we'll see which team is going to be the fastest one to pick it up. Had some little uncertainties with where to put the ice, how much speed yesterday. Taking a peek at the practice, the ice looks a little bit more, little keener.
Little pacier this
yeah,
morning.
Exactly. So I think we might see the teams being a little bit more comfortable with the ice, but we shall see.
We shall see. So
yeah.
Wherever you're joining us around the world today, we're glad you're with us. The Canadians do have last rock advantage in the first end. They've won the pregame draw shot distance challenge, so they've earned the hammer. And as Allison was saying, let's see if they put that to work right off the bat. These teams will play a full 11-game round robin. Top 4 teams will advance to the playoff phase next weekend. So it's only day 2, but already the teams are starting to think about where they're going to be laying in the positioning through the week. So I think playing tournaments like this, every player would tell you it's important to get off to a good, strong start, and the Canadians had the best possible start yesterday, winning a really tough game against Switzerland.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, Switzerland, they had a bit of a rough start, but really came out firing last night. So as we saw with the standings, so every team that did play 2 games yesterday had 1 win, 1 loss. So we have no team right now that's undefeated.
So getting us underway is Artur Razubov. Russia's playing the Red Stones. Canada will be playing the Yellow Stones. The Russians did have first practice, and the ice was a bit slower, and pace of the ice has definitely come up, and that's reflected in that first stone of the game, right through the house. So game on, I would say it's green light go for Team Canada.
Absolutely.
Here's Jeff Walker.
Weight's good? Thought it was there. Okay, I didn't think it was heavy, so. We're there. Looks close, clean it. Doesn't look heavy to me.
As Allison predicted, straight to the offense, throwing up a corner guard. Game on.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what we like to see. I'm sure you like to see it too. So let's see if Razabov can rebound from that first stone, make his adjustment.
Линии чуть больше даже, ребят. Линии больше. Хороший вес, сам. Линия сам. Линия пошла. Только вес, мужики. 13-7.
So as I thought might have happened after yesterday's tough start, a very defensive first end here from the Russians. They're electing to throw the stone into the rings.
Brad, this will curl a little more, I think. You're a little soft there, Jeff. Yeah, I agree.
And there we go. So even in the very first stone of the game,
Yep.
feedback, little adjustments, very aware. This team means business every time out.
Absolutely. So electing to just ignore that red stone that's in the top of the house and just go straight for the corner guard.
Up low. Yep, really curling now. Whoa.
Canada throwing down the gauntlet to the Russians. Tucking it around the corner guard. Very nice weight control. Full 12 foot and at least 3/4 buried. Stukowski asking his teammate how much he can see. Looks like he's just going to rip that corner guard. But, well, no, maybe not. It's just going to be a straight out. No, he is ripping the corner. Timur
Whoa. Лёх, отскок.
looking to roll the stone towards the center and to give himself some protection, but
Дальше, Лёх.
swings away to the corner.
Does
Yep.
leave another corner guard, so
Canada won't be disappointed about
no, definitely not.
I got a lot of curl here in practice too, Brad. Like that? Looks like ice for nose to me. Yeah.
that. Okay, again, the feedback. Looking for how much of this stone is going to curl. They're looking to hit about half and roll behind that corner guard.
I think it's so amazing that every single one of these players is so invested, and they, are able to provide that kind of feedback to their skipper. Sometimes you'll find that front ends get a little bit nervous to give the skip ice information.
Everyone's 100% dialed in on this team, that's for sure. And you're exactly right, Allison. Some teams deal with that poorly. Some teams really welcome it. And Brad, he seems to be a skip that is very comfortable having lots of input from his players. Of course, he's played with Mark Nichols forever, and so they're very comfortable with each other as a back end.
Absolutely, and actually having Mark Nichols skip the team for the greater part of the season. So
there's no doubt at all about
No.
Mark's ability to read ice and call the game. World class in his own right.
No. You're gonna throw a little more? Yeah. It's good ice. Like that ice? Yeah. Still probably minimum, so. Yeah. Good weight.
Brett Gallant
Close. Normal. Close.
from the Canadian province of Prince Edward Island.
Holy cow. Whoa.
This one's really moving.
really seems to be moving quite a bit to the wing there.
Oh, it's definitely more. Yeah. Okay.
And they did indicate before the shot was thrown that he was going to throw more weight and try and hold the line. But Mark did say he thought still that might be minimum ice.
So first end of play, scheduled for 10. Alexei Timofeyev.
A little bit of a change in the Europeans this year. This team came fourth place, just losing out on the bronze medal, but incredible run for these boys. But Alexei Timofeyev was actually skipping the team.
Right. And we see this quite often from Russian teams. They do change their lineups and their playing order quite frequently, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Not very common, I would say, for most nations. But it is something that they do actually on a regular basis.
And I suppose if you kind of grow up in a playing system where that's quite common, you get used to it. And if you're not in that kind of environment, that can be a real challenge. Here's Mark Nichols.
Top 8, Jeff. Top 4, Jeff. Top 4, T.
T. Looks hard right now.
T line.
Curl. It's only T. Brett's in.
Back 4.
And for me, Allison, for this team,
T.
they're all fantastic players, but
Yep.
Mark is the guy that really lights the fuse for this team.
I would agree with you on that.
Good shot.
He is an absolutely fantastic curler.
So it comes just to the tee line. Not quite buried, however, so it's available for Stokalski.
Control. Давай control, да, control.
Control weight, that's a universal curling term.
That one we understood, yeah.
Da, I also understand.
Oh, okay.
And dabai. When they're saying dabai, you know they're sweeping hurry hard.
Good tip.
Есть контроль. Держать ей не очень надо, ребята.
This one's really moving.
Свип до конца, держать. Держать.
They're going to have to really work to get it by.
Well swept, but they lose the shooter. But that was life and death to get around the guard.
Absolutely. Really great brush.
I wasn't wide there, was I? No, you're good.
So Mark Nichols just asking for feedback from Brad. He was perfect weight on his first one, but he would have liked to get a little bit tighter to the guard. So just looking for that feedback. He gets another chance at the same shot. Looking to bury this one.
Really good opportunity for him to find his draw weight as well, and no better time than the first end. Some open draws into the house.
Yeah, it's a really a low-risk situation for the Canadians. This one again is taking its time to move. Well by the guard. And deeper as well. Will it stay in the house? No, it's through the rings. So very uncharacteristic from Mark Nichols, but it's a sign perhaps that Allison was mentioning yesterday. Ice conditions were a little tough, a little slow, and ice looks very pacey this morning, which is encouraging, but also might be a bit of an adjustment for the players.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Maybe we can take a listen in and see if Mark gives us any feedback on that. But,
So a bit of a get out of jail card here for the Russians.
yeah, I think might be the case of second rock down the path. Could be a lot keener after the first rock is thrown. So if that's the case, they're really going to have to take a good look at where it is that they've thrown on the sheet, because it could be extremely patchy.
Alexei Stokalski looking to remove the Canadian stone.
Not a lick to it so far.
Has he got any contact at all? Yes, he does. Is it enough to push it out of the rings? Spinning, so it's going to carry, but it may spin back. Let's watch the final rotation. Just out of the rings. My goodness. Well, well, well. Might be some backing for Canada.
What's it compared to draw the button here?
Based on Mark's last one, really close to draw the button.
You throwing 1-4?
I still think.
Слушай, да, сейчас посмотрим, как он повезет.
So Allison referenced, this is the
Yeah.
third stone down this in-turn path.
Yeah, and
In pregame practice, the teams tend to throw outside in, and so inside out, like going to the wings as they are here. Sometimes that takes a couple extra rocks to come up to pace, and maybe that's what's happening. So they're looking for that kind of feedback. They think this weight's right up going to the wing now.
yeah, with what they said before, with you know, having the same weight as the draw pass. So what that says to me is that it's up to speed, and it's pretty comparable with as fast as it's going to be now down that path.
Easy, Jeff. Whoa, switch, guys.
So first rock of the game for Canadian skip Brad Gushu.
Brett's in. Go ahead. Line's getting good. Go ahead, boys. Keep
Hard.
going.
Line's looking great on this one. How's the weight?
Hard, Brett.
Hard. Keep it moving. Hard.
Good brushing from the Canadian front end. Drags that stone half around the corner guard.
Shot.
And Canada lies one. There, we get a great look at it.
Really good, really great brush to put that in position. So now it's going to be whether or not they think it's going to be easier to throw the run, or there we go. Gonna look at the draw.
Well, we mentioned that that stone at the back, just out of the rings. The problem with the run is there's a jam on at the back, so the Russians are looking at that and saying, well, that's a bit risky.
Может,
We might
сюда,
drop a
может,
two.
вот сюда ошибка.
Такой силы-то.
They're electing the corner freeze.
Ран думаешь?
Equally
Я
tough
думаю,
shot.
да, ну смотри, как тебе-то лучше.
Ребята
Ну,
говорят,
чё, он
ран ударить.
закрыт полностью.
Но он сюда может упереться. Но если что, в перевал он вниз пойдет. Окей?
Changing gears
Сильный
now.
тим.
Yeah, they're going to give it a try.
So they're going to try to run the redstone back onto the yellow one. Shot is there, but there is a bit of a risk of a jam. So if he's going to make any kind of an error, you'd expect it to be on the high
Дай чуть
side of the
пошире,
rock.
Тим.
Да, там не
Taking
давал
a little
небольшой
extra ice
ход,
now,
как раз.
confirming that. And that's the pro side miss. Timur Gadzikinov holding the target for his skip, Alexei Tukalski.
Легко. Пока больше линий. О, поднять сам.
Отходит, что ли, да, вообще?
Blows it across the top, so
Чё, просто отваливает?
huge break for the Canadians.
Ног попадает.
Yeah, the
Quite
downs.
common on arena ice when you bring the weight up,
Yeah.
it tracks straight
Можно
and
даже на лоб ставить.
runs a little straighter than they expected, and I think that might be what happened there.
Yeah, the downside with throwing the run back is if you did do something like that, you're basically just doing like what you see right now, giving Canada an open draw, not giving him a hard shot at all for his deuce. Not that the draw around or the corner freeze would have been easy for him, but
At least it makes it a little bit tougher, right?
yeah, exactly.
But now, great chance here on the last stone of end number one for Canadian skip Brad Goosh, who just has to hit the paint to open his account with a deuce.
Just behind T. Just clean it then.
Same line as mine.
Rushers seem pretty happy with it. They're in control of the weight. Guiding the stone safely into the house, right to the tee line, and Canada
Split the difference, 3 feet.
opens the game with a big multiple score of deuce in the first end. After one end of play, it's Canada 2, Russia no score.
Closer to the path. You were wrong, probably. Yeah. Second. Zach. Second one. Slide. Line's okay.
short,
Just
Brett.
a light clean.
Top 12.
Light clean.
No, pretty good. I like the weight.
Line's nice.
Weight
This
is
rock
nice.
will finish.
Welcome back to Edmonton at the 2017 Ford World Men's Curling Championships here at the Northlands Coliseum. Canada versus Russia in our feature game today.
Оттолкнем бэклайном.
Canada with the deuce in the first end, so Russia with the hammer, but
Что, на 6, наверное, да? Я думаю, 8
onto the fourth stone of the end now for Artur Razabov and
5-6 где-то.
Allison. The Canadians have got it set up very well for themselves, and so Russia throwing up the corner guard, but they're having to answer a big challenge here.
Yeah, so far a great setup. As we said yesterday, the Russian team struggling a little bit with the draw weights, and Artur actually only having a 25% draw percentage for the game, so struggling a little bit with that.
Да, сразу чуть поуже поехал.
That stone was still in the free guard area, so they couldn't run the guard, but they could move it, so at least they've moved the guard off the center line, but they've left their own just off center. Might be usable for themselves, though, but possibly also usable for the Canadians.
Just didn't quite have the line on that.
Line's good. Just a little shorter than mine.
Line's a little tight.
Brett Gallant.
Yep, it's curling.
Line's okay.
A
Where
little
are you?
higher than a broom length.
Probably gonna over curl.
Broom length.
Just to replace that guard. Big late finish.
Shot. That's good.
Remember, my rocks curl, so.
Либо так.
Да, вот это. Good shot.
Yeah.
We mentioned that there's
That's right where
one other game in action here in the Sunday morning draw, session 3. That's the Netherlands versus Japan, and Jaap van Dorp's young Dutch team got off to a great start, scoring a deuce in the first end. So it's Netherlands 2, Japan yet to score. They're playing in the second end.
Нормально, Лёв? Всё хорошо, Тим.
And on our sheet, trying the run back there, but just gets it through the 2 yellow hole there.
What's that?
And
They both curl the
leaves a
same.
bit of a staggered off-center guards there.
So this
Not
is going to
really-
be interesting. So
Yeah.
something maybe to work with for the Russians, but danger brewing here for them as well.
Same weight.
Oh, it's more, I thought.
Line's good.
Line's good.
Same weight.
Line's a
Little
little
bit,
nice.
yep,
Line's
yep.
tight.
Should be good. Same spot.
Line's a little tight.
Yep, stay down, Mark.
Tighter line, Mark.
It's never under curling, so
Whoa,
So
Jeff,
Canada
down.
just
Whoa,
looking
Jeff.
to plug this up.
just shorter than the last one. A little shorter than the last
Line's
one.
good.
Yep.
Whoa, it's there.
Nice shot.
Nice shooting there from Brett Gallant. Positioning the guards well.
Попробуем достать его. Пройдем? Или нереально?
Если нет, то зачем пробовать?
Есть дырка.
А?
Если невозможно, то зачем пробовать?
Почему? Есть дырка.
Он говорит нереально.
Можно так попробовать бортом.
Давай.
Я
Колодка.
бы попробовал ран бы лучше.
Борт. Окей.
Разбивать, чтобы чище, проще.
Ну, тоже верно. Сейчас не получится.
Not 100% sure what the call is. Are they going to try and squeak it through that board?
I am not 100% sure.
Хороший вес, борт.
Оули, не больше пока ждать.
I heard board
И
weight, so
немного, ребят, поднять.
might be the double run as
Через
well.
красный что там?
They're letting it kind of try and curl up, so
Дом, закрутишь его? Чуть
not
поправил,
100%
очень
sure on
ровно
that one. Here's our take a look at the national coach, Soren Gran, the former Olympic coach for Team Murdoch back in 2014.
And
We
that's
have-
something that's come into the game in really the last 2 decades in particular, since curling's become a full medal sport at the Olympics. The rise of the professional coach in curling has really made a difference to a lot of countries' programs, hasn't it?
Absolutely. We have quite a quite a fantastic coaching bench for this game. We were saying we've got 2 Olympic coaches, Jules for the Canadians,
Early, Brett.
being a 3-time Olympic coach, which is an
It's
incredible
mighty impressive.
asset. Yeah, incredible asset for the team.
Put a stop. Just clean it. It's almost even with the yellow.
Longtime coach for team Kevin Martin.
Well, just let it stop.
From right here in the city of Edmonton.
Okay, good shot, Mark.
Yes. Was it the Champions City? or
City
the
of Champions.
City of
was
Champions.
Known as City of Champions in the 1970s and 1980s.
Here we take a look at the full coaching bench there.
Yes, alternate. Evgeny Klimov, Alexander Kozarev. Here's Alexei Timofeyev
Держать, Тим, держать очень надо.
trying a run back. Straight back, jams it. Pops it into the open, however, so situation still difficult for Team Russia, but improving.
Yeah, it's going to give Canada another chance to come around this one again.
Чуть-чуть, да?
Need to make sure you don't have it too low, though, because you do have that in,
Finish with this, Rob.
or the hit and roll or in off on those 2 yellows now on the side.
Is that enough ice?
So just looking for this, biting the forefoot.
Nice throw. I think it's good.
Really don't need it any deeper than that.
Same speed?
I think it's going to be real close the same. It's not going to be any quicker.
Yeah, I think it might be a hair slower. You're in that fresh stuff a little longer.
So again, great communications and feedback about taking a very wide path here, and are they having to make any kind of a weight adjustment? So great chance here for Mark Nichols to sink one around this wall of granite.
Line's holding good.
Line's good. Just short. Go then. We gotta
Walker
get
and
it in.
Gallant on it hard.
It's there, Brett. Go.
Top 12.
Hard!
Can hear that frost.
Yeah, they're really grinding through it. They have to get by the guards. They had to actually come off it to get past that red one, and they get it onto the rings. Very nice brushing there from Team Canada.
So good.
That was a sweeper
than I thought
shot
it would.
all the way.
And they are incredible athletes.
We were good. It was just had to go out early.
Brett Gallant and Jeff Walker take a bow.
2 powerhouses.
So Russia with the hammer on end number 2, but this is a pretty much a must make for them. They're facing 3 Canadian counters, so they're looking to try and use those center guards themselves, and if they can get this one top 4 foot behind the center, might bail themselves out, but Canada still has options.
Легче, сам. 4 фута. И так.
Good looking Stone coming to rest, full on the button,
Хороший.
behind cover, and so let's listen to Brad Gushu and Mark Nichols and see what option they choose.
I think they're looking at some sort of hole here.
Yeah, we see there's a bit of a hole through the port. Probably won't be big, but they didn't really hesitate, did they? They
No,
said,
not at
"Okay,
all."
That's enough.
Wait, you throw
There's Jules.
Yep, checking out the notes, thinking, yeah, there's a hole there.
Yeah, I'm not worried at
The
all.
paper says so. Yep. Morning, Jules.
Next to him, they've got alternate Tom Salos.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And they say the players don't watch the television
Yeah.
screen. Come on. Here's Brad Gushu trying to navigate through an incredibly tight port.
Hair light.
Yeah, just forward. Hard. Gotta go.
Hard, Brett.
Hard. You got it.
Hard.
Gonna have to work hard.
Forward.
Oh,
Close.
It's-
Yes, no is usually a good sign. Past 1, past 2. Fantastic
wow.
shot by Brad Gushu.
wow.
Canada lies 4. Big smile, and rightly so. Great shot, Brad.
Nice weight. I don't think it was. No, it was good weight.
That ought to get your adrenaline going a little bit.
Wakes you up on a Sunday
Yeah.
morning, doesn't it? Wasn't much of a hole at all. Has to navigate 1, 2, 3 guards safely through and makes a perfect shot, sitting front button.
I was trying to make the.
Didn't even hesitate to put the brush
No,
down. Just
no debate at all. They
saw
said,
it.
there's a
threw
hole
it.
there.
Yep.
We're through that. No problem. Good dog on a bone.
В конце он прям вообще клюнул.
So now the gauntlet has been well and truly thrown down to Alexei Stokalski. He has to be thinking, okay, Brad, anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah.
Trying to navigate that same port. Gushu showed him the way. Can he follow?
Не больше пока. Поднять. Поднять. Слабый тейк.
Looks close, but might be hanging a little bit.
It's definitely a wider line. I think he's all over the front guard.
Ooh.
Hammers it. And to add insult to injury, pushes another Canadian stone toward the rings. It does go through. So Russia with the hammer, but boy, oh boy, in a world of hurt here.
This is looking quite tricky for them. Not sure how much on the inside they even have now of that, the yellow that was on the side. Pushing the...
I would imagine that Brad and Mark are debating how can we take away an angle run-in.
Let's go for here.
I think you err like this.
Yes.
I'd leave him that, but
Yeah.
play enough ice to
Yeah, absolutely.
squeak that one.
Yeah. I gave him the same ice Brett had for his draw of the button, which was there.
So just looking to put this in the top 12, maybe even possibly biting the 8-foot. Definitely do not need it any deeper than that. Just looking to block off any kind of run back that Russia may have.
I thought it would be a little slower than what he threw.
So you can't take away everything. Russia will have run-ins, but they're all difficult.
Should run.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to make it easy for him.
On the max side.
This side just might be.
I think he threw a draw of the button speed. Perfect. Well, I'm gonna try and throw.
Here, Alexi, you're thinking,
Uh-oh.
which is my best option?
Which of my 10% shots am I going to have to throw on my last one? It's going to be some kind of an angle run-in or a draw to cut down, but virtually no paths to come in on the draw, so it's almost certainly going to be some kind of a raise or an in-off. It's going to be a difficult shot.
Tight. Yep. Yep.
Stay down, jab.
Yep. Hard. Just jab.
Top
Hard
roll.
jab.
Wait's good.
Just jab. Overthrowing a bit. Just jab.
No, just short.
Fighting. Go, go. Come on. It's good. Just gonna overthrow. Low now.
Line being a little bit more important than weight here, so just making sure they keep the line.
So takes away the straight raise. And now we can see from the brush position,
Сейчас 9-80 было, это много.
they probably decided this shot even before Brad threw his guard that
Лёха, а что мы делаем?
they're going to try and play a little hit and roll by the looks of it, but now they're looking at some options.
Плюс один сделать.
А можно, да? Так он
как он открыт?
закрыт полностью.
Got Zikhanov, who plays second stone but holds the brush for the skip rocks. Looking at the angles, it looks to me like he's going to try and play about a board weight hit on the stones on the right-hand side of our picture. Try to roll to the back of the button for one.
На минус один только получится.
Tough shot. Just got to navigate the guard. There we see. You can see about, if he hits what he can see on the left-hand side of our picture, maybe he can salvage the point or at least cut the Canadians down. So a key shot here for Alexei Stakowski, trying to keep himself in the game really early in the going.
Очень надо линию, свип. Свип, да-да-да, парни, свип.
Must get by the guard.
It doesn't look good to me.
And he racks on the guard, and so it's an enormous steal of 4 for Canada.
Wow.
To the delight of the Canadian crowd, but the disappointment of Alexei Stakowski. They got fooled on that one. Weight was down. It's a steal of 4, and Canada is away to the races, up 6-0 after 2.
Yeah.
They sweeping on mine.
If we go end, I think we.
In the universe that is distinctively curling, the stars have now aligned to deliver the world's ultimate showdown to the world's entertainment capital. Whether you're a storied veteran of events past or a future superfan anxious to attend your first, this is the one. The 2018 World Men's in Las Vegas with our most popular package, the 9-day, 10-night hit and stay for 2 people for just $20.29.
Las Vegas rocks.
Welcome back to the Northlands Coliseum. 2017 Ford World Men's Curling Championship.
Top 4. Oh, it is top 8.
And Team Canada is
that's
off
good.
to an absolute gallop. Huge steal of 4 in the second end. Play now in end number 3.
Mine's good. Full weight.
Russia with the hammer, and it's a 10-end game. And Allison, how do you actually deal with this? You're down 6. You've got 8 ends to play. You can't get them all back at once. How do you deal with it?
It is going to be an absolute battle for them to try and work their way back into this. They're going to need to hope for some multiple multiple point ends. They got, I mean, the ability of this Canadian team to throw those accurate peels are quite deadly. So it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for them.
So it starts here in end number 3, and you think if you're Team Russia, you're thinking, first of all, score. And if you can get a deuce here, you're going to have to get some steals somewhere along the line if you're going to get back in this game. So start here, use the guards, try to get a deuce. But as Allison said, this Canadian team will not let them in the game at all.
No, and taking a look at yesterday on all of their takeouts, they were averaging at a 91%. So
that's pretty fair shooting there.
Yeah.
Bombs away now for Brecht-Delant, trying to double clear the front if he can. There's one, just blows it by the second. We mentioned that there's another game in play here in the morning draw. Japan is facing the Netherlands, and after dropping a deuce in the first, the Japanese bounce right back with a deuce of their own in the second, so they're tied at 2 after 2 ends of play. In the World Championships, it's not only an event where you can call yourself the best team in the world if you win it, but for these teams in the lead up to an Olympic year, this has also got Olympic qualification implications for every nation here, not every team here. And Allison, for Team Russia, last year they earned 3 Olympic qualification points based on their performance at the World Championships, and so they would have come into this week thinking if they wanted one of the 7 direct entries into the Pyeongchang field, they would have been thinking we have to make the playoffs.
Absolutely. And I think having that 4th place finish at the Europeans, it probably gave them a little bit of confidence going into this event. But as we said, they do have a little bit of a lineup change. So I am surprised that they altered it a little bit. That being said, I think obviously not the start that they were hoping for at this competition so far, being down 6-0 right now to Canada, and having a really rough game yesterday against the USA. So they're going to need to find as much mental strength as possible to try and bounce back and get themselves back into this competition.
Yep. If you're going to have 2 awful games, probably best to have them at the very beginning of the competition. But as you said, Allison, it'll really test their mental strength. How do you bounce back from what is shaping up to be 2 demolition jobs back to back? Still early in the game, however, it's the 3rd end, and an attempted double clear there leaves some protection for the Russians, and so they're looking to get something going here on the 3rd. I mentioned the Pyeongchang Olympic Games. 10 nations will compete at Olympics. 7 qualify through World Championship performance over 2 years. Host nation Korea, of course, gets an entry. And then the final 2 places will be determined through an Olympic qualification event, which is going to be played in the Czech Republic in December. So even if Team Russia doesn't manage to qualify directly, they will have an opportunity to repechage their way in through the Olympic qualifying event. But I can tell you, none of these players wants to play in that Olympic qualifying event. Probably 8 or 9 nations will compete in that. 2 will go forward to the Olympics, and so if you have a chance to directly qualify, that's what you want to do.
Absolutely. I think as soon as you put the word Olympics with it, it starts to get very stressful, I think, for a lot of the teams, and you start to think way ahead and think, oh, we need to qualify, we need to get so many points, and again, it can be quite a heavy load for the mind if you've just got the one thing on the brain. Need to keep it in the moment.
No doubt about that. And speaking of the Olympics, this man is an Olympic gold medalist, Mark Nichols. Brad Gushu and his team topped the podium in Torino in 2006. But this is their first time wearing the Canadian maple leaf as Canadian champions. And they've been a top team in Canada for a long time. And they've just won their first Canadian championship representing their home province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Slid for fun there too.
We're very close last season. They had a second place finish at the Canadian Championships and had the opportunity to play against Kevin Cooey again, and were able to come out on top this year. And like you said, what an incredible game. Yeah.
Посильнее чуть.
Много линий, не валит. Отскок.
Well, that rearranges things, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
А что, нормально получилось?
So, works out very well for the Russians.
Так хотел, да?
Alexei Timofeyev picks his own stone and pops the Canadian stone back and pushes his own behind the center guard. So we talked about the Russians trying to get a deuce somehow in this end, and
It'll certainly curl enough to make it with Hack.
something brewing here.
I know it's there. I don't mind playing the run back.
Okay, I think that's the shot, Mark.
Play the end.
Let him work
Yeah,
his deuce.
that takes 3 out of play.
Yeah.
So the guys just keeping it smart on this one, realizing that they don't need to play it really cute, and the hack weight is definitely there with the amount of curl that we're getting on the sheet. But worst comes to worst on this one, you peel off the guard, no harm done.
If there's somebody who wants throwing a run back, it might be Mark Nichols. And that's why.
Hard, all the way out.
Is he going to get it out?
Spins back, and so it just hangs on the 12-foot, but a pretty nice stone there from Mark Nichols.
I didn't think it'd stay that straight, Mark.
He'll actually be disappointed in that because it stayed in the race.
Yeah.
Либо так. Да? Yes, Lёг.
So a little glimmer here for Team Russia. Their stone hanging on to the back of the 12-foot, clinging for life. So if they can wiggle another one behind one of these guards here with a hit and roll, they've got a nice chance here to deuce and maybe more.
Посильнее чуть, больше веса.
Поднять много.
Много веса.
Налево можешь, большой рог.
This one's got some curling to do. Maybe they're going to try and go high side. It's a brave sweeping call. They just snuck it by the guard. Russia lies 2.
I think it looks a whole lot more appetizing with the outs. Almost peel.
Well, compared to the port that he ran in the second end, Allison, this looks like a yawning gulf between the stones.
No big deal. Him and Mark just discussing which turn
think that's good,
looks
Mark.
a little bit better from the hack.
Gedzikanoff and Stokalski can only watch.
I think it's nice to just cross it a hair, right?
Yeah, solid normal.
Yep.
Normal.
So looking for the hit and a little bit of a flop under,
Whoa.
if
Whoa,
possible.
you ready, Brett?
No, it's right out.
Square on the nose, so removes the Russian stone, but it's still available for Alexei Stokalski to maybe make a little hit and roll.
Sorry. That wasn't a clean throw for you.
Good ownership there from Brad.
I like the line you got it on.
Yeah, it's just looked like Knowles the whole way down.
Там лампочка есть под ним? Над ним, то есть.
So it's tricky. The rolls are available, but probably the easier rolls to go across the face and sneak in behind the red, but
Да, то же самое.
Восемь.
В лоб нас тоже устраивает.
you're going to be flirting with the guards if you're going either way for a roll.
0 нормально будет. 0. Даже контрол сносить
Ты его
будет.
вставлял, да, Лёх?
Ну, чуть-чуть, да.
And in the back of his mind, he might be thinking about that final stone attempt in the last end that crashed a guard, and so subconsciously you might step up your weight. Let's see what happens.
Легко.
Много веса.
Линия свип. Пол. Легче. Легче. Линия норма.
Веса больше.
Линия норма. Линия норма. Линия
Что,
норма.
будет ролл?
Не-не-не. Стоп.
Pretty nice stone, no roll, but
Такой же, как у него.
importantly,
Такой же.
not quite fully in the rings, and so if Brad noses that, he may not roll on the rings, and it still might be a draw for 2. So now they're taking a look at, do they eliminate the stone in the back 12?
Нормально?
Yeah, absolutely. Just you can play a hit and roll on that back one and try and get it in behind cover.
I was thinking kind of hit it and kind of go forward and in, but I like this shot too.
Yeah, I like smarter.
As long as you know out here.
Same weight.
Yeah. That was Peel last one? Like,
No,
you don't think?
no.
I think this is a good shot. You've got a little ways to roll on this.
Might be a little slow.
Quite a bit of tolerance on that roll, so
We heard Brad Gushu say this is smarter.
Last one
and
was just a
Yeah.
little more normal.
he's aware of the scoreboard, and he knows that even if he gives
Firm-
up 2, he's in
firm
great control, but he sure doesn't want to give up 3.
Probably
You want to keep it up a bit.
just peel out here and then
Yeah.
let it come down to firm normal.
Yeah.
I do think it'll slow down once it hits the hog line.
Yeah.
Again, good awareness of the ice conditions wide on the sheet.
Yeah. From what I've seen out wide, it's not going too much. I think it will get
Keep
some
it
curl,
clean
but
and-
I like that ice. Peel.
Yep. Easy peel.
Yep. Whoa. Yep. Yep. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Roll it, Mark. Go. Stay on it. Stay on it. Stay on it. Okay.
great shot.
They
Does
got-
get a roll, but question is how much can you see from the hack?
Nice weight.
and we see Brad Gushu saying, yeah, got the roll, but
more than the first
probably
one.
not quite enough. Throwing Peel weight out there, so
Nice.
looking
They
to
actually
roll
tried
it
to
a
crack
long
down.
way. Nichols brushing it for all he's
Out that
worth
wide,
and
I think.
hides a corner for sure, but probably 2/3 of it available for Alexei Stakowski on the outturn side to play maybe board weight.
Yeah, the question is whether or not he's going to catch some of that frost out on the side and
Might
kind of
crack, might
yeah,
grab.
exactly. A little bit of a question mark, so you need to make sure that you've got your brooms down on this one and make sure it doesn't get away from you. Last stone. Here in the third end. Team Russia looking to get their
Хорошая
deuce.
линия. Слабее чуть. Легко. Линии больше. Линии больше пока. Поднять. Поднять. Нет, хороший вес.
Rushers are
Jump,
just
jump,
watching
jump,
this one, so it's got a bit of
Внимание.
curling to do.
Выбьем, да?
Well by
Хватит.
the guard. Is it going to curl enough? Makes contact, pushes the Canadian stone out of the rings, and just clings on, so it's a deuce for Russia. Russia is on the board.
Ну что, все.
Alexei Stakowski,
Всё, наверное, многовато для борта было бы щётки, да?
board weight hit, an important confidence builder for Team Russia. So after 3 ends of play, Canada gets the hammer up 6-2. Welcome back to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Big deuce for Team Russia. Play underway now in end number 4. Canada with the hammer. So we talked in that third end down 6 that was imperative that the Russians scored a pair to start the long journey back, and that's what they did. But even with that deuce, still a long hill for the Russians to climb. They're going to have to steal an end along here somewhere. And so they threw up a center guard. Now they're throwing a stone around that center guard in front of the Canadian stone. So already this feels like one of those ends where somebody's going to score a bundle. And we're not quite sure who.
Pretty good. Yeah, might be a touch slower. Yeah.
Just a touch slower.
Good
Yeah,
hack.
slower.
Jeff Walker.
Just hack.
Yep.
Throwing hack weight, trying to get to that one in the top of the 12, but with hack weight, should he just tick the guard, that's perfectly all right as well.
Smart play, giving themselves options.
Come on, hurt, line two. Okay, that works.
Pushes the Russian stone back to third shot. Canada with the hammer here in the 4th. This game scheduled for 10 ends. They'll play an extra end if we're tied after 10.
Хороший вес.
Линии чуть больше, ребят. Линии больше.
Take a look, there's Teamer,
Линия есть.
second for Team Russia
Нельзя вес.
at 54% so far for tournament accuracy.
Контакт нельзя.
Контакт.
Just struggling a little bit, finding their way. Sometimes it just takes a few games to get your rhythm going though.
Вращение потерял.
Third. No, a half is close. Okay.
Even though the playing conditions are generally excellent, it's a new building, it's a new time zone, it's a new place. And as Allison said, some teams take a little bit longer than others to settle into a tournament. But
Think,
of course, to stand at the podium at the end of the week, you really need to hit the ground running, don't you?
Absolutely. And just jam it.
Okay.
I think you'll also notice the time of when the teams actually come down to these events really dictates as well how quickly they're able to get into the competition. So, for instance, actually this Russian team came down a week ago.
Right.
So they would be pretty well acclimatized to the time zone and making sure they're getting enough rest and recovery in between games and getting their body on schedule.
Well, it's a really important consideration, and I know when I used to compete from the country of New Zealand, every time we would go through a competition, you're often 12 time zones away from your home country, and I remember a sports doctor telling us that really the human body clock adjusts about 1 hour per day in terms to get yourself fully on board for wherever you're playing.
This
So
won't curl as much as the last.
for a team like Russia that comes from Moscow, coming here to Edmonton, even with a week,
Yep,
you're still getting your body clock in sync to
absolutely.
where you're going.
Absolutely. It's hard to come down a little bit more than that. It also depends on how much of a budget that that your team has. But just like you said, takes your body quite a long time to get adjusted. So the more time you give yourself, the better.
Slams it back, picks his own off. And sorry to interrupt you, Allison, but my
No.
goodness, things are getting a little interesting here on sheet C in our feature game. Trying to run back and pick off the Russian stone, doubling it up, but instead runs back and picks off his own.
He's not going to be happy with that one.
Чуть-чуть.
Окей.
So the good news if you're a Canadian fan is that there are no guards, but the bad news if you're a Canadian fan is that the Russians are going to try and throw one up right now.
Alexei Timoviv
Пятый, шестой, шестой пока.
58% so far in the competition.
Пока нельзя вес вообще. Очень
And
близко.
these
к топу.
shooting percentages are reflective of the struggles that they've had in their first two games. They've gotten behind early in both of those contests, and often then that can compound things because you wind up playing more difficult shots, riskier shots, and a half shot becomes a no shot.
Absolutely.
And it's reflected in your shooting percentages. And the players will tell you, yeah, they look at their individual shooting stats, but there's really only one stat that matters, and that's the final score of the game. And
Just on the line. Just
they
on
know
the
that
line,
they
even a little off the
have
mark.
to gamble sometimes when they're behind, and that's
Yep.
just what happens. So a nice corner freeze there from Team Russia, and creates a bit of an overlap, but Gushu now is just going to try and clean house a little bit. And who better to have the stone than Mark Nichols?
Whoa, whoa. It's definitely back. Whoa, whoa, right off.
There's a vapor trail behind this one.
Get her own here.
My goodness.
Okay, that's better.
Better.
Yeah.
Not awesome, but better.
Does open up the front at least.
It does.
Yeah.
And it actually saves the Canadian stones on the wing, so despite not killing two like they expected, it's actually worked out really well for Team Canada. Now if you're Russia, where do you put this one?
Такой же вес, Лёх. Да? Согласен?
Looks to me like the call was
Повтор
to
веса 7,6 был.
throw it in the pocket between the red and the yellow stones in the forefoot as we're looking from our overhead shot. Alexei Timofeyev.
Контакт, пока больше.
Пока ждем.
Пока контакт.
Ждем, ребят, ждем.
4
поднять.
за, 6 за вес.
Sweepers think it has plenty of weight.
Надо, чтобы подсел.
Маленький контакт. Силайн.
Тэп, 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 тэп.
Чуть-чуть перевал нужен,
До
Лёх.
конца подождем, сам давали. Не, контакт, Лёх, контакт сильный.
Сам, нельзя
Сильный
вес.
контакт.
Didn't really want to bounce, but they're going to get a small one.
Yeah, that's just not going to cut it.
Да, да, да.
Needed to come to rest in front of those stones, but by moving them gives the Canadians a great chance now to
Think it's still one here.
I won't whip it.
No, we got to make sure we're high side.
by high side, Allison. What's Brad mean by that?
On the broom side. So need to make sure that he's going to be hitting on the side that's further away from the center line.
Jeff, you gotta go, buddy.
Up. Good shot, Mark.
Great throw.
Just as the doctor ordered. And saves the shooter as a bonus. Nice shot by Mark Nichols.
Great throw, Mark.
Good shot.
Sweep.
Some positive reinforcement from his teammates.
Could have made it and stayed in the 8 foot.
I just never got mine back. You couldn't.
Certainly didn't want to risk it.
I think it was a really smart call. Make sure that you hit it the high side. I mean, worst comes to worst, you hit it that way. Even if you jam, you've got the front's
open for
opened
you.
up. Yeah, exactly.
Сейчас уже понятно, да.
We mentioned this Brad Gushu foursome has consistently been
Дабл, да, просто ли?
Да, средний.
one of the top-ranked teams in the world. They've been knocking on the door for years, and
Наш там никак не полетит.
their experience showing there with their shot choices. If you're new to curling, this is one of those sports where if you can execute every shot but make poor shot choices, you can still lose games. So strategy and tactical decisions are incredibly important.
Мини-норма.
Средний.
Легко.
Alexei Stukowski.
О, пока больше. О, поднять.
Skip for Team Russia here.
Поднять.
Looking for the double.
Артурчик,
To
небольшой
sit
ролл.
two.
Лучше ставь. О,
And just a hair on the outside there, so that will leave still the Canadian shot rock.
Yeah, no there, but while we
So now Canada can go to the old
gotta come to
Ken Watson curling school of split the house and score your two that way.
we are playing down a little bit of a new path.
Бам-бам, дабл. Тройник.
Edge.
Yeah, I think so. I don't even mind a little bit more.
Okay.
Canada playing the Yellowstones. They've got
Always
last
throw
rock
down.
here
It's
on
the
end
same
number
path.
4.
A little tighter than he threw, I guess, eh?
They lie one.
We go T-line though, Mark. Can he not maybe make it off his own and get
We
three
need
of
to
them?
be just short of the tee, or like just biting the. We need to be right there. or we need to be back here,
Yeah.
don't we?
Great discussion here.
I think, well, we can't leave it there because then he
No.
can make it
No,
this
we
way.
don't.
I'd
no,
prefer him to
definitely
be playing this
Yeah.
one. I mean, we're still going to have a shot for one.
Yeah. If we could keep it just above the tee line, Brett,
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't fight
that's
it.
ideal.
So we talked about the strategic
If it's going to be deep,
tactical
then,
choices.
Yeah, there's probably no real
as you're
good
behind the tee
spot.
line,
Yeah,
no,
but you put it
just,
where he
just
might-
in front of the tee
Yeah.
line, like
It
biting
would,
the
we'd
tee line.
almost have to be on this line.
We just gotta be
What they're
full eight.
worried about, Allison, is
I mean,
Do
this
they
is
leave
good,
a-
Brad.
I think the
raised double
What's that?
angle takeout
that's
by putting
good.
the stone in the
No.
wrong place.
This is the shot.
I like over here.
Okay.
We can put it there.
But just like they said, they're always going to have a shot for one. So
I think it's,
just try and put it in the best possible place where the double's going to be either impossible or extremely difficult for the Russian team to execute.
Alexei and team are looking on.
Pretty close, yeah. That or just a smidge more.
So position A for Brad Gushu, by the sounds of all the discussion, will be
A little light. No.
fractionally in front of the tee line. Glenn
Line's
Walker
holding.
in charge of the weight now as the brushers.
All right, go.
Keep going, keep going.
T.
No, we're not. I don't think we're
Or T. Get it past ours.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yep, yep,
Yes,
yep, yep.
yes. Hard.
And just as he drew it up just in front of the tee line. I think they would have liked that to curl fractionally more than it did.
Good.
Sweet, that's all.
Yeah, and I think maybe come a little, like a hair deeper. But pretty good result, though.
It's really picking at straws, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is it on
yeah,
that-
exactly.
Is it on that pebble or that pebble?
maybe a centimeter more.
Yeah. Pretty nice shooting.
Yeah.
Great brushing by the Canadian front end.
Я понимаю. Ты хочешь так дабл? Ну да, так всё, да.
But now what the Russians or the Canadians had feared is probably on for the Russians if they hit half of that red stone on the low side, on the left-hand side. It's possible they could even make a triple takeout and remove all three Canadian
Нам надо
stones.
чуть-чуть сюда попадать. Давай вот так, наверное.
Да.
Да. Будет, я думаю.
Снаружи хочешь ударить?
Gonna have to throw it really hard though. So if he hits just about where the brush position is and maybe a little thinner, raise the red onto the yellow, hit half a rock, spring to the wing, kill the one on the 12, and then his shooter rolls across and takes out the stone in the 4-foot. Tough shot, but it's there.
Поменьше поставился.
I wonder if anyone followed that.
It's one of those things where you need a telestrator,
Yeah,
actually, instead of saying,
exactly.
this one's pinging off of that one. And all we know here is that there's a lot of yellow Canadian stones for Alexei Stokalski to try to move. Let's see what happens.
Легко. Свип. Свип. Да-да-да, свип держать, парни, свип. Свип. Да-да-да-да-да.
1, 2, and almost 3, but the angles were there, but he would have had to throw it really hard. I mean, he
Really
threw
hard.
He threw it well, hit the stones where he wanted to, but just not enough momentum to push the Canadian stones out of the rings.
Надо просто очень сильно так кидать.
Yeah, I think that was exactly the spot he needed to hit. Just needed to
Just
throw
it
a
twice as
rocket.
hard,
Yeah.
really.
С интурном щетку знал лучше. Ну тогда да. А если чуть отпустить, нет, наш был.
So
Really
now-
great effort.
Yeah, it was a great effort, but now a fairly routine shot coming up for Brad Gushu to get the two back that they dropped in the third end.
So here we go, last stone here in the fourth end. Team Canada looking just
way.
for the nose
Easy
hit for
board.
2.
Go ahead. Help him, Jeff. Hard.
Yes! Right to it! Hard! Hard!
And is it going to overcurl?
Well, hits, rolls away, but
That way. Yeah.
luckily has a lot of house to roll too, and it's 2 points for Canada. Bit of a wry look there from Brad Gushu. He was looking for the nose hit, it overcurled, but
Smidge
had a
light,
bit of
but
backing, and it worked out for them.
Just hasn't played.
Net result, 2 points for Canada, and after 4 ends of play, Canada with a commanding 8-2 lead over Russia.
stars that is distinctively curling. The stars have now aligned to deliver the world's ultimate showdown to the world's entertainment capital. Whether you're a storied veteran of events past or a future superfan anxious to attend your first, this is the one. The 2018 World Men's in Las Vegas with our most popular package, the 9-day, 10-night hit and stay for 2 people for just $20.29.
Las Vegas rocks.
Here we are in the 5th end, the Canada versus Russia game. And so far we've got a pretty commanding lead for the Canadians, up 8-2 after 4 ends of play. Russia's got quite a climb. I don't know if they can do it, but like you said before, it's a 10-end game. It's still got quite a few ends left, but they've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and the 5th end break coming up. It's a 10-end game scheduled contest. The teams have to play a minimum of 6, but yeah, it's a funny time of the game for Team Russia. We mentioned earlier that they got absolutely pounded yesterday against the USA and off to a slowish start today against Canada. And it's one of those decisions. It's like, do you pack it up and reset for tonight, or do you treat now the second half of this game as a mini game within itself and just set yourself a goal to compete and make some shots and try to get yourself going in this game, even though the end result of the game might be gone.
Yeah, well,
you're trying to win the second half, perhaps.
In the last game as well against the United States, they also quit after the 6th end. So if they were to do the same thing for this this game, they won't have any playing experience on the second half of the game, which is a pretty strong disadvantage going into that final game, or the second game tonight against China.
Yeah, ice conditions do definitely change over the course of a 10-end game, and you're absolutely right, Allison. If you're not seeing the ice conditions in the 8th, 9th, and 10th ends, you sure don't want to be seeing that for the first time in the 3rd or 4th game of the competition, do you?
I know.
Okay.
Nice clear there from Brett Gallant. Rips the corner guard.
Или на другую, можно желтый камень закрыть.
Может, фриз на желтый? Подожди.
Желтый закрыть с этой стороны.
Sunday morning here in
Мне нравится так тоже.
Edmonton, Alberta.
Давай фриз.
Mentioning here that the late risers here in Western Canada on a Sunday morning, a beautiful Sunday morning in Edmonton, but the crowd is beginning to filter in to support their home team. I can understand Sunday morning, you know, it's brunch, you know, it's the weekend.
Brunch is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
I did hear that this evening the Canadian team will be playing against Sweden. And I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but I did hear that there was almost sold out seats here in the arena, which is absolutely incredible.
I thought you were going to tell me that Brad Gushu and Nicodine were maybe going to be playing for a box of donuts or something, a big side bet on the line. But no, it should be a great game tonight. Great atmosphere here in Edmonton for that one, no doubt. Two of the hot favorites coming into this competition. Olympic gold medalist versus multiple world champion should be a beauty.
Absolutely.
I like this. Yeah. The other option, Brett, is this. Get that shooting in there. I don't know if we need to hit the red one.
That looks thin, doesn't it? How thin is that?
Third to a quarter.
No, I like the yellow.
Okay. I think that's a smarter call, I think.
What do you want to hit?
About a third.
So, you mentioned earlier in the game that, you know, this Canadian team, everybody's involved in the shot, and so even though they've got a commanding lead, there's still a lot of input about which side of this stone they want to hit and how much of it they want to hit.
Hard! Hard! Good. Good shot.
Great stone.
Really great.
Go. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
That was a smart call. Just opting to not even look at that double peel. It's, you know, the questionable rock was the one that they played at, and definitely the makes more sense.
It's just like painful watching those get into the frost.
Brett Gallant pleased with the effort, and rightfully so. Mentions the Sunday morning draw. It's session 3, day 2 of the 2017 Ford World Men's Curling Championship, and 2 buys in this morning draw, so there's only 4 teams in action. The other game features Japan versus the Netherlands, and Team Japan holding a narrow 3-2 lead in that one over Jaap van Dorp and his Dutch team. The first time that the Netherlands has had a men's team at a World since 1994, which with this young Dutch team is actually before half the team was actually born.
Yeah. And we do have the youngest player in the competition. That's on the Netherlands team, a 18-year-old, which is absolutely incredible to be at a men's world championship at 18. Not many people can say that.
Yeah.
And Dutch curling has, I've been keeping an eye on it over the years, and they do have one curling rink in the Netherlands, and this team has been gradually improving year on year with their performance at the Europeans, and this year they've broken through and qualified for the World Men's Championships. And as you said, Allison, young team, but full of a lot of promise, and they're working so hard.
Thought it might grab some frost over there.
And a fantastic opportunity for them here in Edmonton, and I know they're delighted to be here.
Absolutely. Incredible play at the Europeans this year, winning out of the B event.
So for those of you unfamiliar, Allison, explain how the teams get here through the multiple layers of competition. So there's multiple flights. There's an A group, which I believe is 10 teams, and Europe will send 7 teams. The top 7 out of the A group qualify for the World Championships. The 8th European team has decided the 8th ranked A team has to play an elimination series against the winner of the B flight, which has 10 countries as well. So the Dutch had to win the B group, finished number 1, and then they had to play, I believe, a 2 out of 3 crossover against Austria.
Yep.
And that came down to the 3rd game, and they managed to prevail there. So it was a very long journey for the Dutch to work their way through the B group and win the AB crossover, and here they are at the World Championships, their first one ever.
Absolutely. And for the women's side, we saw Team Italy come through, being a different team than the European team that we had. So they, association, not 100% sure, but they did send another team to the Women's Worlds. But nonetheless, the Italian association, they did win the right to send a team to the Women's Worlds.
Just make sure it's above the tee line, that's all. Line's good. Line's good.
Pretty good.
Yep.
Biting the button.
Yep. Good shot.
Nice come around there from Team Canada, using that stone in the top 12 foot as a guard.
Fantastic amount of swing.
Yeah, you love it as a player when you've got lots of curl and quick ice, as you can play the full range of shots. So Russia down 6 with the hammer. Ordinarily, you'd say, okay, we'll run the pair and maybe try to run the end out and keep the hammer, but they can't afford now to take any opportunity to try to generate some offense, and so it's the freeze attempt now for Alexei Timofeyev. Russia desperately needs a deuce.
Yeah, I think I heard back line from the sweepers, so it's got a ways to go to die down, but might be catching some curl.
He's got some contact, definitely, but not a freeze. Pounds it into the back 12.
Easy, ход разогнался.
So with hitting and then rolling over to the open, this is yeah, just like Brad's saying. So they can play the hit and roll and play it quite cute to try and go hard for either the steal or a really difficult force for Team Russia, but don't need to overcomplicate things.
Get the curl, just not the frost.
Brad, same weight as last end. No
You're
less.
up 6.
Okay.
No reason to let them into the game.
No. Just by nosing this rock, even if they do make a hit and roll underneath, you have a very short run back on that top 12 stone.
Right,
Clean.
your
Yep.
shoe.
Clean. Whoa. Board.
Board weight.
Whoa.
Board weight.
Fred. Off. Not curling. No. Close. No. Clean. Clean. Clean it.
Good. Right on the nose. Kendall eyes 3.
Teams are talking quite a bit about the amount of frost on the ice.
And there's just no frost there now.
There's,
It's a good path there.
Yeah.
Nice call, Allison.
Yeah.
Just as you mentioned that, the players mentioned the same thing.
Yeah, mentioning it quite a bit, so they're, you know, really trying to understand where the paths are that the frost is either creeping in or, you know, some unplayed spots.
And so for fans that are pretty new to the sport, explain to them the difference between ice that is kind of well polished versus the frost. What's the impact on the path of the stone when stones hit that area?
Yeah, so the frost generally is, it's going to, you almost need to throw it a little bit more aggressive. Generally, the rocks will kind of lose their handle a little bit, and they'll really come down. So you'll get a little bit more curl, a little bit more, it'll die a little bit more, so they won't run as true as if when the rock is, or when the path, sorry, is broken down and a little bit more slick.
Even a hair more.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're in
So
the
always
frost
making
here now,
sure
I
that
think,
you've got
or
kind of
new
a brush
path
down
anyway.
to,
Keep the momentum of the
yeah,
stone.
exactly.
So great
We have a new
awareness.
path, so I kind of like going with good normal. Yeah, I agree. I like it.
So
Brad?
we heard Brad talking about the path, so
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
he's been keeping a
I like
very
the
close
roll.
eye on every part of this sheet. He's got a very good idea of what this stone is going to do.
And he always asks the sweepers if they agree with the ice, if they think that you know, there's anything funky, if they've got some frost, if the weight is good. It's
solid, normal.
absolutely fantastic communication.
Whoa, solid. You want to clean it? No. I like nose anyway.
Right on the nose. And they're pretty happy with that. So final stone to come now for Alexei Stokalski, and he's looking at 3, and he's probably got no option but to draw the 4-foot to save the end.
Полностью белое надо. Сколько лег человек?
Challenge for Stokalski. He's going to have to navigate past that stone just off the center line there in the top 12 8-foot to get to the 4. Looks like quite a gap, but we've been watching these stones really curl, so comfortable area for him to throw to, but still has to navigate past some Canadian granite.
So last stone here in the 5th end. Looking for a draw for the 1.
Хорошая
Пока
линия.
сам.
Линия норма.
Легко просто.
Куда идет?
Легко сипс.
Линия есть, парни, только вес.
Лайн.
Только вес, полностью в белое надо. Контроль, контроль, контроль,
You can
контроль.
really hear that frost. Sweepers are
Хорош.
keeping it clean, and it looks fantastic.
Right to the lid, job done for Alexei Stokalski. It's a score of 1 for Russia as we go to the 5th end break, but it's a long way back for this Russian team. Canada with a dominant 8-3 lead as we enter the 5th end break.
Exciting times.
The world wants to know. Okay, so just reference the other stream and wrap up, yeah? Yep. Great, thanks, Johan. Perfect, thank you. So as we return to the Northlands Coliseum here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, after the 5th end break, we can see the scoreboard and hear the statistics after 5 ends of play. And this is one of those situations where the stats do tell the story. Canada absolutely dominant in shooting percentage. 4 stolen points, and it's reflected on the scoreboard with a commanding 8-3 lead.
Top 4. Just top 4. Just top 4.
Really dominated every aspect of this game, scoring a deuce in the first with the hammer to get control, stealing 4 in the second. Russians fought back with a deuce of their own in the third, but then Canada snapped right back with a deuce and then forced the Russians to 1 in the 5th. So that brings us to end number 6. Artur Razabov trying to get something going for Team Russia, but they have more than a mountain to climb.
Yeah, Russia's, they're gonna need to get some points.
Параллельно, параллельно, Лёг,
На
смотрите
уровень, на
внимательно.
уровень, мужики, на уровень. Есть.
Спасибо.
Yeah, so after the 5th end break, where the teams have a chance to consult with their coaches, it's Russia deciding maybe it's opposite time, and normally you'd be electing center guards, but they've thrown up 2 corner guards, so they know they're going to have to steal their way back into this game and maybe steal more than 1, and so maybe they're thinking, Allison, that by throwing up corner guards, the Canadians are probably going to try and use them, and maybe that's a way to generate a bizarre steal, but it's a very unusual strategy.
I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Well, they say you come to a curling tournament and you see something for the first time every time you go out, right? So maybe this is our
Yeah. Well,
new thing.
yeah.
That slid really well, but at first it didn't see it, but
So good.
What we do know is that
Cut it through about 4 feet left.
if Russia's going to win this game, there's either going to be a multiple point steal or steal 5 ends in a row just to get to an extra. So doing weird and unusual things is
Yeah, I'm not sure
definitely
opening
not
up
by
the
the book.
front. No, I'm not sure opening up the front and, you know, giving Canada always the option for a draw or, well, anything open would really be the safe choice to go with if you're looking for a steal.
you're basically saying to Brad Gushu, I think you're going to miss an open hit or miss a draw to the 8-foot.
Yeah,
really, aren't
exactly.
Brad's confused.
Yeah.
You? So is Allison. So maybe that's what the Russians are going for there, just to try and introduce, because it does get a bit mechanical strategy sometimes, and by looking at something different and weird, you'd be used to peeling a center guard, and now you're peeling corner guards when you've got the hammer. That feels weird, but
That does feel weird.
Stokalski says, yep, put it back up again. So whatever they discussed with this coach Soren Gron at the 5th end break, they definitely come out here with a plan, and it's an unusual one to say
something
the
out.
least.
Yeah.
Шестой. Просто нет, сам шестой.
Ждем.
Шестой,
Дома нет?
шестой прям.
Лех, легко. Можешь протирать?
Нет,
а то
нет,
он
Лёх,
щас
не
едет
надо.
очень сильно.
Можешь в дом
Canadians will
заехать.
be thinking, well,
Подтяни, подтяни.
okay,
Yeah.
Дом.
there must be a
So-
trick here somewhere, but okay.
Yeah, so you're throwing a corner for us, and
What's the catch?
yeah, we know you guys are nice, but not that nice. So what's going on here?
Even on the nose.
I had to do a double take. I said to Hans, I was like, wait a second.
Why are they throwing
Yeah.
corner guards?
Hold on. Canada has hammer, don't they?
Canada does indeed have the hammer here on end number 6.
Easy normal. Yep, just normal.
So with that last one over curling a little bit, that does open up that back red stone.
Just past that corner guard. Picks and to add insult to injury, rolls behind the corner guard, thrown there by the Russians. But we can see the plan. They definitely have a plan. It's maybe not a great plan, but They're determined to build something around these corner guards, and now they're going to try a freeze. Theory being, I suppose, that as you get to your last shots at the end, you'll finally get a chance to make a play on that one in the center and maybe make Canada look at 2 or something like that. But as Allison pointed out, by keeping play away from the center, it's going to mean for Brad Goucher that his final stone would be quite happy to just draw the 8-foot.
Oh, oof.
Thought they were going to
Just
squeak it by.
lost the
but
line.
Yeah, a bit of a sweeping error there. Kind of worked out, spun back, but again, this is like shooting fish in a barrel for the Canadians.
Yeah, for Canada right now, you really don't need to keep that back yellow in play either. So I think they would be really happy with just doubling those 2 out. You're up by 5. You don't need to get any more points. Just keep things clear and open.
Yep, if your Canada scoring is a good result in this end, you've got enough points in the bank to win the game from here. And
Great shot.
just want to, well, so a bit of a glimmer now. So even though there's 4 Canadian stones in play, the Russians won't mind that. And now Stakowski looks like he wants to make a play on that stone on the button. Roll it into the pile on the left-hand side of our screen. Maybe freeze against the back one. Another option might have been to try the corner freeze yet again and stack them up, but whatever you're doing here for your Team Russia, it's high risk all the way around.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was kind of the downside with rolling a little bit. You've kind of staggered those 2 and left that back one. So
There's the hit. There's the pocket. Sits in front. Not quite frozen, but something going here for Team Russia.
sits for shot stone and
good angles too.
Really, really good. So
roll the 7 hard.
Run that sucker back, don't you?
You can play like back 8 weight and
I think just freezing it in there.
see that you run the red in and try to roll.
I don't think you're moving this too much. I don't mind back 8 if you want to try and loosen that up a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I like mushing it a little.
So for all the question marks about the Russian strategy, they are
Kinda
making
weight
the
do you want?
Canadians
Back
think.
8.
Yeah.
This is draw to the button speed, huh?
Yeah, mine's the nice.
Draw to the button speed.
Same as this intern that I threw
3
to the
feet
button
quicker.
there.
Yeah. I don't know if it's quicker. But same.
This is draw to the button speed.
They
That
did
was-
talk
that's
briefly
slower.
about running the Russian redstone back into the pile, but they've decided to play just past T-line weight and play to the red Russian stone and maybe move it a foot.
Back 4.
throwing the nice control weight to make sure that they sit on the top of the stone and don't get too much of a roll off.
They like a bit of contact to unlock the stone a little bit at the back.
Come on, guys. Hard. Hard.
This one is finishing hard. Are they by the front one?
Great
Just
shot.
very nice stone from Mark Nichols. Importantly, pushes that backing stone a little bit out of the way. So,
Thanks.
yeah, nice shot there,
I
Mark.
didn't think we were getting by.
Really?
Well, look.
Say, look, you got all the way to the nose, Mark. There you see from the overhead.
You got by a whole hair.
That's right. He curled around that stone in the 8 foot.
Падает она мне из рук почему-то.
Ты скотчем привяжи. Вот так здесь.
But yeah, what a great shot. I mean, just
Окей.
the weight control. So the line was one thing. They swept it great to get it past their own stones, but
Не, больше нормально будет.
enough to just unlock that back stone. So it makes it much easier now for the Canadians to pop that Russian stone out. And if they did, they could score in a bundle, and you'd have to say end the game. Alexei Stakowski trying to prevent that.
Averaging at 63% so far in this competition. Or sorry, in this game.
Фриз.
Линии чуть больше.
Линии больше,
Легче,
пока
легче,
без
легче.
контакта.
Легче, легче, легче.
Линия норма уже.
Свип.
Можно контакт.
Со свипом
Линия
фриз.
отлично.
Freeze
Линия
on top of that Canadian shot rock.
свип. Свип линия. Линия, свип.
Сейчас хорош.
По линии надо, парни. Свип.
Сейчас
Да-да-да.
контакт.
Линия очень надо.
Pretty nice shot.
Хорош.
Hard to tell from the overhead. Canada may still be lying one, but it's pretty close.
Да, да, да.
I do believe it's yellow. That's what I would bet.
Try and get to the inside.
What do you
and
think?
just blast them
Yeah,
out.
I kind of feel
Leaves
the
them a
same.
freeze in the pocket.
play this too. It's real close.
Okay.
I don't like that, Mark. I think we can get to the inside here with the in and just get rid of it
I
that
think
way.
you can too, yeah. You get a bit of room there.
With
And
the
even
in,
if
you
we're
could probably
shot,
make
if I hit the top, it's not the end of the world.
Can you make it with the? You can't make it with the out, hey?
You can. A little harder, I think.
Okay, in.
Mark Nichols saying, okay, Brad, you can make the
Outer
out turn
in.
and still
Yeah,
hit it on
look.
the high side. And Brad going,
Just worried
really?
about how far that's.
Yeah, you can, but Brad
Give me
wants
the
to
out.
throw the in turn. Oh, no, he is deciding on the out turn after all.
There's enough room. I need more than that, though.
That might be
One
their
more.
favored turn to throw peel weight, you think, Allison?
Yeah, and I think, you know, your perception always changes when you're in the hack.
Sure.
So sometimes it looks, you know, he seemed to think that it was quite a difficult turn to choose for that one. But as soon as you get in and actually see it for yourself, sometimes your view can change a little bit.
So it is the out turn for Brad Gushu, trying to hit the high side of this Russian stone and pop it sideways. And there she goes.
Right out, right out, right out.
What a beautiful shot.
Good.
Nice throw, Brad.
Good shot.
See the shot, make the shot for Olympic champion Brad Gushu. Great shot. Having to navigate past that Russian stone at the top of the 12-foot, hitting it on the high side to
That red one, I
pop
think
the
was
red one out
going a lot
sideways.
easier than that.
Great angle at it here. Watch the action.
That's what I was worried about with the in turn.
Yeah.
They're favoring the out turn sometimes just to get that little bit more action on the stones after contact.
Well, it could have got a little bit up more under it with the in, but
Yeah, so Russia's now going to try and come down to that kind of pocket of yellows we see at the side and force now Brad to throw a draw to the 4-foot for his single point. But as we said earlier, you know, he's with this strategy, he's just got to be hoping that Brad
Ooh.
makes a miss out of it.
Little speed wobble there from Alexei as he came out of the hack, but he recovered. No, you're right, Allison. We said right off the top of this end, and you picked it up first, that Russia throwing the corner guards is an unusual plan, but they've stuck with the plan the whole end to try and force Gushu to make a draw. So the Russians have done everything they wanted to do. Not quite frozen though, so Gushu's got an opportunity here to really throw the same shot that he just threw and score 2, maybe 3, and that might be lights out. So it was the high-risk
Absolutely.
strategy for the Russians. They really needed to freeze that stone, and by creating a small bit of contact or a small gap.
might even go a hair more, Mark.
Yeah, but at the same time, he needed to kind of be a little bit on the inside so that he could
get
sit
shot.
kind of corner freeze for shots. So it was that was a tricky shot.
Yeah.
Not an easy one, and but like you said, now Brad's got the exact same shot as his last one, and
So-
that's every skip's dream, isn't it?
Well, look at this. 100% in this game for Brad Gushu, and trying to put an exclamation point on it right now. There it is. 3 points for Canada, and you gotta think, yes, the Russians have conceded victory to Team Canada to the delight of this crowd in Edmonton. A comprehensive, compelling demolition job for Team Canada.
They were just on top of it right from the get-go, weren't they?
Absolutely, and there you see confirmation of the final score. Canada 11, Russia 3, so Canada goes to 2-0. Russia suffered their second large defeat in the tournament. Wow, what can you say? Olympic gold medalist Brad Gushu and his Russian opponents really facing the wrath of that. So Sunday morning here in Edmonton, and that's all for us. We're glad you've joined us. If you're following curling live, there's another game in action. It's Japan versus the Netherlands, and so we'd encourage you to go and have a look at that game, still in progress. But there's confirmation of the final. Russia conceding victory here to Brad Gushu and his Canadian teammates. So for me, Hans Fraunlab, and Allison Krivizak, and our entire crew here in Edmonton, thanks for joining us. Join us again later today for more great curling from the 2017 Ford World Men's Curling Championship.